Imagine standing in a throne room where the floor is stained with the blood of thousands, where a single word from the man on the throne could erase entire cities from existence. Throughout history, some rulers didn't just govern, they reshaped the very fabric of civilization through sheer brutality and iron will. These weren't just kings. They were forces of nature wrapped in crowns, men who believed that mercy was weakness and that the world belonged to those ruthless enough to take it. Today, we're recounting down the 10 most ruthless monarchs who didn't just rule their kingdoms, they changed the course of human history forever. From ancient Mesopotamia to medieval Europe, these are the kings who proved that sometimes the most terrible rulers leave the most lasting legacies. Let's begin our descent into the dark corridors of power, starting with 10. Vlad the Impaler, 1431 to 1476. The inspiration for Dracula, our 10th entry, takes us to 15th century Wallachia, where Vlad III earned a nickname that still sends chills down spines today. Known as Vlad the Impaler, this Romanian prince turned cruelty into an art form. His preferred method of execution involved slowly impaling victims on wooden stakes, leaving them to die in agony over days. But Vlad's ruthlessness served a strategic purpose. When Ottoman forces invaded his territory, they discovered forests of impaled bodies, reportedly 20,000 Turkish soldiers displayed like a grotesque warning. This psychological warfare was so effective that even the mighty Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II, conqueror of Constantinople, retreated in horror. Vlad's reign of terror created the template for Bram Stoker's Dracula, but his real legacy was establishing Wallachia's independence through sheer intimidation. His brutality became legend, inspiring centuries of vampire folklore while demonstrating how fear could be weaponized to protect a nation. 9. Caligula, 12 to 41 AD, Rome's mad emperor. Moving to ancient Rome, we encounter Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, better known as Caligula. In just 4 years, this emperor transformed from beloved leader to the embodiment of absolute power, corrupted absolutely. Caligula's descent into madness produced some of history's most bizarre acts of cruelty. He declared war on Neptune, ordering soldiers to collect seashells as spoils of victory. He appointed his horse as consul, forcing senators to bow before the animal. More sinisterly, he would invite nobles to dinner, then execute their family members while they ate. His systematic humiliation of the Roman elite and wasteful spending nearly bankrupted the empire. Caligula forced citizens to worship him as a living god, executing anyone who refused. His reign ended when his own Praetorian Guard assassinated him, but not before he had demonstrated how quickly absolute power could destroy both ruler and state. His 4-year reign forever changed how Romans viewed imperial authority. 8. Herod the Great, 734 BCE, the massacre of the innocents in ancient Judea. Herod the Great ruled with such paranoia and brutality that his name became synonymous with infanticide. This Roman client king transformed the region through massive building projects, including the expansion of the Second Temple, but his legacy is forever stained with blood. Herod's most infamous act was the massacre of the innocents, ordering the execution of all male children under 2 years old in Bethlehem, fearing a prophesied rival king, but this was just one of many atrocities. He executed his own wife and 3 sons, earning him the dark jest that it was safer to be Herod's pig than his son. His architectural achievements, including Masada and Caesarea Maritima, showcased Roman engineering, while his brutal suppression of Jewish rebellions maintained order through terror. Herod's reign demonstrated how a ruler could simultaneously build monuments to civilization while destroying human lives, creating a template for authoritarian modernization that would echo through history. 7. King John of England, 1166 to 1216, the tyrant behind Magna Carta. Medieval England produced one of history's most reviled monarchs in King John, a man so despised that no subsequent English king has taken his name. Nicknamed John Lackland, he lost most of England's French territories and earned a reputation for cruelty that sparked a revolution. John's reign was marked by crushing taxation, arbitrary imprisonment, and personal vendettas. He starved political prisoners to death, including the wife and son of William de Braose, who had witnessed John murder his nephew Arthur. His attempts to control the Catholic Church led to England being placed under papal interdict, effectively cutting the nation off from Christian sacraments. But John's tyranny inadvertently created one of history's most important documents. In 1215, his own barons rebelled, forcing him to sign Magna Carta at Runnymede. This great charter established fundamental principles of justice and limited royal power, becoming the foundation for constitutional government worldwide. John's ruthlessness thus paradoxically birthed the concept of human rights and rule of law. 6. Ivan the Terrible 1530-1584, Russia's first Tsar. The title says it all. Ivan IV of Russia was literally called the Terrible, though the Russian word Grozny better translates to fearsome or formidable. Russia as first official Tsar expanded his empire to unprecedented size while unleashing a reign of terror that traumatized the nation for generations. Ivan created the Oprichnina, a state within a state run by black-clad secret police who terrorized nobles and commoners alike. They rode black horses, carried dog heads and brooms as symbols of their mission to bite and sweep away the Tsar's enemies. Entire cities like Novgorod were sacked, with thousands massacred on mere suspicion of disloyalty. In a fit of rage, Ivan killed his own heir with an iron-pointed staff, securing his dynasty's doom. Yet his conquests doubled Russia's size, establishing it as a major European power. His legal codes and administrative reforms created the framework for the Russian Empire, while his cultural patronage advanced literature and arts. For Genghis Khan 1162–1227, the great destroyer born Temujin in the Mongolian steppes, the man who became Genghis Khan created the largest contiguous land empire in human history. But this achievement came at a cost measured in tens of millions of lives. Genghis Khan's military machine was built on systematic terror. Cities that surrendered were spared, those that resisted were obliterated. In Khwarezmia, his forces killed an estimated 1.25 million people in a single campaign. His armies were so thorough in their destruction that some regions didn't recover their pre-Mongol populations for centuries. Yet Genghis Khan's conquests connected east and west like never before, creating the Silk Road's golden age. His legal code, the Yasa, established religious tolerance and meritocracy. The Pax Mongolica facilitated unprecedented cultural and technological exchange. DNA studies suggest that 16 million people today descend from Genghis Khan, making him quite literally one of history's most influential fathers. His empire created the first truly global trade network, laying foundations for the modern world economy. 3. Alexander the Great 356–323 BC, the boy who conquered the world. By age 30, Alexander III of Macedon had conquered most of the known world, but his path to glory was paved with unprecedented destruction and cultural annihilation. Alexander's siege of Tyre lasted 7 months and ended with 8,000 citizens slaughtered and 30,000 sold into slavery. At Thebes, he razed the city so completely that only temples remained, enslaving the entire surviving population. His soldiers carried out systematic massacres across Persia and India, with some estimates suggesting his campaigns killed over 2 million people. But Alexander's ruthlessness served a greater vision: the fusion of Greek and Eastern civilizations. His forced marriages between Macedonian officers and Persian nobility created a new hybrid elite. The cities he founded, particularly Alexandria in Egypt, became centers of learning that preserved and transmitted classical knowledge through the Islamic Golden Age to medieval Europe. Alexander's brutal conquests created Hellenistic civilization, spreading Greek culture, science, and philosophy across 3 continents and establishing intellectual foundations that still influence us today. 2. Nero 37–68 AD, the emperor who burned Rome. Nero Claudius Caesar Augustus Germanicus didn't just rule the Roman Empire, he nearly destroyed it through sheer megalomaniacal excess and cruelty that shocked even hardened Romans. The Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD burned for 6 days, destroying 70% of the city. While Nero probably didn't fiddle while Rome burned, he certainly exploited the disaster, seizing vast areas to build his Golden House, a palace complex so extravagant it covered nearly 1/3 of the city. To deflect blame for the fire, he scapegoated Christians, having them torn apart by dogs, crucified, or burned alive as human torches to light his garden parties. Nero's personal cruelties were legendary. He kicked his pregnant wife Poppaea to death, murdered his mother Agrippina, and forced his former tutor Seneca to commit suicide. His artistic pretensions led him to compete in Olympic Games, where he won events even when falling from his chariot. But Nero's reign also saw significant legal reforms and public works that improved ordinary Romans' lives. His downfall came when he lost military support, leading to civil war that nearly shattered the empire. Yet his cultural patronage and architectural projects influenced Roman civilization long after his death. 1. Cyrus the Great 600 to 530 BC. The King of Kings. At the pinnacle of ruthless effectiveness stands Cyrus II of Persia, founder of the Achaemenid Empire and creator of the ancient world's greatest superpower. Unlike other entries on our list, Cyrus combined breathtaking conquest with revolutionary governance. Cyrus conquered the Lydian Empire, defeating the famously wealthy King Croesus, then turned east to subjugate the Babylonians, liberating the Jewish exiles and allowing them to rebuild Jerusalem, an act that earned him the title of Messiah in the Hebrew Bible. His empire stretched from India to Greece, encompassing 44% of the world's population at its peak. But Cyrus revolutionized rulership itself. The Cyrus Cylinder, often called the First Declaration of Human Rights, established principles of religious tolerance and cultural autonomy. Rather than destroying conquered peoples, he incorporated them into his administration, creating a multi-ethnic empire unified by effective governance rather than terror alone. Cyrus's model of enlightened imperialism influenced Alexander, Rome, and ultimately the concept of universal human rights. His administrative innovation satrapies, professional bureaucracy, efficient communication networks became templates for all subsequent empires. Where other kings on this list changed the world through destruction, Cyrus transformed it through unprecedented construction of a truly cosmopolitan civilization. These 10 rulers remind us that power without restraint creates monsters, but also that from the ashes of their terrible reigns often arose the very institutions designed to prevent such tyranny from recurring. They changed our world not just through their cruelties, but through the responses their cruelties provoked: legal codes, constitutional limits, and philosophical frameworks that still govern us today. From Vlad's psychological warfare to Cyrus's administrative genius, these monarchs prove that history's most influential rulers are rarely its kindest. They carved their names into eternity through blood and ambition, leaving legacies that continue to shape our modern world. Sometimes the most ruthless kings create the most lasting change, for better and for worse. Among the top 10 kings, which one is the most ruthless king? Comment below.